Do you all retire if you lose?
Yes. You know,
Really?
there is a point in every fighter's life that they will reach when they can't go any further. If I can't beat Conor Benn now, then I've reached my ceiling. Which is why this fight is so deathly important to me. Because I don't want to retire. I don't want to give up. I don't want to sail off into the sunset. I still have things to achieve.
The world of boxing is once again in turmoil. Just when it appeared that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. had gone their own separate paths, the possibility of a rematch has unexpectedly resurfaced in April 2025. Unlike before, this isn't just speculation. Real discussions are taking place behind the scenes. Both fighters have publicly acknowledged it, and the atmosphere is growing tense, especially with Crawford already questioning Spence's standing in the sport. Let's dive into the details. Interview 2. Crawford and Spence have always been outspoken, and as talks about a potential rematch begin to gain momentum, their rivalry is intensifying. They are exchanging barbs in interviews, on social media, and even in a fiery live confrontation. Spence, who hasn't fought since his tough loss to Crawford in 2023, is more motivated than ever. He's pushing hard for a rematch, insisting that their first fight didn't reflect the full picture, claiming he was at a disadvantage due to being drained at 147 pounds and that the weight cut took a significant toll on him. Crawford, on the other hand, is reminding everyone of how the last encounter played out, knocking Spence down 3
when he's doing this.
Yeah,
He's
I
got his
agree.
line. He's very smart. He's got his line. You are a drugs cheat. I'm facing a drugs cheat. I'm the hero in this. I'm the hero for facing a drugs cheat, and I'm going to put this drugs cheat straight because you're a drugs cheat. If someone took a syringe, bent you over, and you're there and they're putting it in your ass, as he said, and they're syringing it into you and you didn't know what it was, you're still a drug cheat because you're responsible for doing what?
Was never in question. Despite this, Spence stands firm in his belief that things will be different at 154 pounds. Interview 3. The entire rematch saga has been a whirlwind ever since Spence exercised the rematch clause following their first fight, where Crawford dominated him in July 2023. Spence wasted no time triggering the clause, eager for a second chance. However, the contract was clear. Unless either fighter submitted written confirmation they couldn't make 147 pounds, the rematch would be at welterweight. While Spence never formally submitted that notice, he and his team kept pushing for the fight to take place at 154 pounds. Crawford, however, wasn't on board. He saw no reason to give Spence any advantage after his decisive victory, and that's where the deadlock started. Interview 4. Then, Spence's health challenges put everything on pause. Eye surgery, recovery, and concerns about whether he could ever return to his best form. While Spence was dealing with all of this, Crawford kept pushing forward, capturing another title at 154 by
Chris Eubank is the favourite for the good reason that he's been fought at the higher level and he is naturally the bigger man. But that man Ben has got some ire and got some danger in him, and he will be even more dangerous when that first bell sounds on April the 26th.
When reporters brought up the idea of a rematch, Crawford quickly shut it down, barely entertaining the notion. Nah, he said, completely dismissing it. At that point, it seemed like the rivalry had come to an end for good. Interview 5. But now, things are changing quickly. Crawford is no longer firmly closing the door on a rematch. Spence is intensifying his push, calling him out at every opportunity. Many fans believe Spence deserves another chance, arguing that the weight cut played a major role in his performance and that it wasn't the true Spence in the ring that night. On the other hand, some are dismissing those claims as excuses, insisting that Crawford exposed Spence and that a rematch would play out the same, no matter the weight class. Interview 6. Spence, however, is taking this to a personal level. He's openly accusing Crawford of avoiding him, trying to back out of the contract, and pretending like
Arched it on the pitch.
Honestly, I swear down, not at all.
Not at all.
Look at Eddie's reaction versus mine.
You did look chilled, I've got to be honest, because we just talked about your personality.
I think I've stuck my hand out which he would do, taking a step back, and was going to crack him. And then
I was going to crack him. You didn't stop smiling either, so you didn't flinch. And yeah, Eddie Hills did not worried.
Eddie turned round like the guy in the playground, like he always is, starts pointing and laughing. Anyway, it was funny.
Simply because he came out on top. But Crawford, never one to let anyone control the narrative, is hitting back hard. Is telling Spence that he had his opportunity, that he was thoroughly dominated, and that it was clear he didn't belong in the ring with him. Interview 7. Now, in real time, both fighters are making it clear they are ready for another battle. Spence, despite everything that's happened, remains confident. He's insisting that Crawford has never faced him at full strength, claiming he wasn't himself in their first fight, and that is going to prove the doubters wrong. Crawford, on the other hand, is almost amused by the idea that things will be any different. To him, Spence has always been overrated, his style too predictable, and if they meet again, he's confident he'll finish the job even quicker. The trash talk is escalating daily, and with both fighters...
Chris Eubank Sr. was pushing very hard for that should be the fight with the Benn family, not his son,
Harlem.
Chris Eubank.
Listen, go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say that we could well see a Ben Eubank 4 if Ben succeeds in a way against Chris Eubank.
Way, this rematch is starting to feel more real than ever. Interview 8. However, the trash talk is already making waves within the sport. Towins Crawford and Shakur Stevenson have always shared a strong bond, built on years of respect, mentorship, and common goals. But now, their differing views on Errol Spence Jr.'s legacy are driving a wedge between them. Crawford, never one to hold back, has sparked controversy by openly dismissing Spence's Hall of Fame credentials. Meanwhile, Stevenson, one of the sport's most promising young champions, is strongly disagreeing with him. This rift has sparked intense debates among fans, analysts, and even fellow fighters, as opinions collide over what truly constitutes a Hall of Fame-worthy career. Interview 9. Crawford sparked this controversy during an appearance on the Pound for Pound podcast with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo. When the topic of Spence...
Maybe a very disappointing fight if we find out when Chris steps in there against Conor that he is much, much too big for him. But I think they'll play 12 rounds and I think we'll get 2 fights. I just have this...
Stevenson's stance highlights a key debate in boxing's Hall of Fame discussions. Is greatness defined by achievements across multiple divisions, or can a fighter solidify their legacy by dominating a single weight class? Stevenson clearly feels that Spence's reign at 147 is sufficient to secure his place in history. However, Crawford isn't backing down. For him, even with Spence's impressive success, being a unified champion in just one division doesn't quite earn him a spot in the sport's immortality. Interview 12. The tension between Crawford and Stevenson may not have escalated into a full-blown rift, but it's definitely causing a stir. Their friendship has always been founded on mutual respect, but this marks one of the rare occasions they've publicly disagreed on something significant. Stevenson isn't just any fighter voicing his opinion. He's someone who has spent years learning from Crawford, training alongside him, and viewing him as a mentor. So, for Stevenson to openly challenge Crawford's perspective in such a direct manner speaks...
I think it's a mismatch on paper, of course it is. It's a fella that won a British title at welterweight, who hasn't boxed for a long time, against a failed world-class middleweight, so I haven't really got any interest, to be honest.
Egg slap not get you excited for it?
Not really, no. I'm not really an excitable guy.
His questions about how this disagreement could impact their relationship in the long term. Interview 13. Adding fuel to the fire, Hall of Fame debates are often deeply political, and Spence's case is already dividing boxing's inner circle. Some argue that Spence's resilience, his ability to recover from a life-threatening car crash and still defend his titles, only strengthens his Hall of Fame credentials. On the other hand, there are those who believe Crawford is setting a risky precedent by dismissing single-division champions, as many boxing legends have cemented their legacies within just one weight class. Interview 14. There's another layer to this debate, Crawford's history with Spence. Some are suggesting that Crawford's comments aren't merely about Hall of Fame standards. They are personal. The argument is that Crawford might be trying to diminish Spence's legacy due to their rivalry, aiming to ensure that history remembers him as the superior fighter. If Spence makes it into the Hall of Fame, it forces the boxing world to acknowledge his status as an all-time great, even if Crawford defeated him. And it seems Crawford may not be...
I felt sorry for Junior because he is a 34-year-old man at the time. He wants his own thing. His father is always going to be the centre of attention.
Yeah.
I think he's right to make his own decisions.
Simon, I see exactly what you're saying because Nigel has stood back from Connor's career and Chris Senior was right in the front at the beginning. And I think it's great that Junior is walking his own path.
So do I.
However, they have had horrendous...
Yet. Interview 15. Meanwhile, Spence has yet to respond publicly to Crawford's comments, but it's safe to assume he's not pleased. He's always taken immense pride in his boxing accomplishments, and being so easily dismissed by Crawford is only intensifying his competitive drive. There are even whispers that Spence might use this as additional motivation for a potential rematch, eager to prove that he's not just a great fighter, but an all-time great who deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame, regardless of what Crawford says. On interview 16. The debate shows no signs of dying down anytime soon, with fans, fighters, and analysts all taking sides. Is Crawford speaking the truth, or is his rivalry with Spence clouding his judgment? Is Stevenson right for defending Spence, or is he just trying to play it safe? The boxing world is watching closely, and as the back and forth intensifies, one thing is clear. This is about more than just a Hall of Fame induction. It's about legacy, pride, and a relentless fight for respect in one of the most unforgiving sports in the world. Oh, interview 17.
But I think with Chris, this is purely business. This is purely business. I don't think he quite likes him very much.
No.
But I'm telling you now, it's a good thing that Conor's in Spain. Because imagine them two bumping into each other on a London high street on a Sunday afternoon.
We don't need that, do we?
No one needs that, no one wants it, but it's inevitable. So you literally have to navigate your way through these camps and keep these two boys away from each other, because
keep the lid on.
I've been there with this kind of animosity and I've been there with this kind of domestic rivalry. It eats away at you. It's not nice.
No.
It literally eats away at you. It's on your mind daily. And you just...
Whose Hall of Fame status should be up for debate. It's not Errol Spence Jr., it's Terence Crawford. Forget the flashy narratives and carefully constructed legacy talk from his camp. The reality is simple. Crawford isn't chasing history, he's chasing money. And that's the real reason why fans, fighters, and critics alike are starting to question whether his name truly belongs in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Interview 18. Crawford's own trainer, Brian "Bamak" McIntyre, is pushing the same tired narrative, trying to convince everyone that the potential Canelo Alvarez fight isn't about the money. But who are they really fooling? Crawford is moving up 2 weight classes to face boxing's biggest cash cow, not because it's the best move for his career, but because the Saudi money is too tempting to turn down. If Crawford's legacy truly mattered most, he wouldn't be making this risky leap. Instead, he'd be solidifying his dominance at 154, proving himself against the top fighters in that division, maybe even unifying the belts again. Yet, after barely getting past Israel Madrimov, it was clear that Crawford wasn't going to dominate 150.
It's going to be a very good fight. Conor has punching power chances. Chris is the bigger guy, so you give Chris the advantage going in because he's the bigger guy, but Conor does have exceptional punching power, so it's going to be a great fight. I think Chris should win the fight. I think Chris should outbox him, outsmart him, but he will have to be smart early because Conor is a great puncher.
47. Interview 19. The younger, hungrier lions were waiting, and instead of facing them head-on, Crawford found an escape route, the biggest payday in boxing. Now, let's take a moment to discuss the Madrimov fight. Fans saw what happened. It wasn't the same kind of dominant performance Crawford delivered against Spence. It wasn't a highlight reel masterpiece. It was a tough battle, a fight that could have easily ended in a draw. And that's against a fighter who, while talented, isn't exactly the king of the division. If Crawford struggled against him, what makes him think he has any business jumping to 168 to face a seasoned champion like Canelo? Interview 20. But that's the issue. Crawford doesn't seem interested in owning his way through the weight classes. He's not focused on taking on the true challenges in those divisions. What he wants is the biggest name, the biggest fight, and the biggest payday. And when all is said and done, when the Canelo fight is over, does anyone really believe he'll stick around at Super